A.J. Brown refused to speak to the media yet again yesterday, and reports are now coming out that the star wide receiver continues to be upset with something going on inside the Eagles' locker room. You need to hear Jalen Hurts' response to this ongoing wide receiver drama. Plus, Jalen Carter, he's losing snaps in Matt Patricia's new defense. Philadelphia signs a tight end, but not the one you wanted. Now they're going to make a big cut later on this week. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Well, Philadelphia signed a tight end to their practice squad, although it's not the one that you probably wanted. Although, speaking of Zach Ertz, there's been zero updates on his situation. Like, is he really going to keep waiting to sign a new contract somewhere? Like, you're kind of running out of time with the playoffs being just a couple of weeks away. Either way, the Birds signed tight end Griffin Herbert to their practice squad, who, if you don't know who that is a 6'1" Louisiana Tech project who can also catch, but really blocks well, to the point that Seattle Seahawks wanted to use him as maybe a fullback, at least during training camp earlier this year. Now, of course, this isn't anything super exciting, but it is a smaller domino that could lead to Philadelphia eventually cutting a player on the active roster to make room for Avonte Maddox's return maybe this week or the following. As you see here, Maddox participated again in yesterday's walkthrough, along with basically everybody else except for Darius Slay. I mean, come on, this is great news for Philadelphia. Their health is looking fantastic as the season comes to an end. But back to the bad news, one player on the active roster is probably going to be cut, and the two candidates most likely to be in that list, of course, are the never-used running back Rashad Penny or the never-used tight end Albert O. With this newly signed tight end Griffin Herbert being a tight end, I'm going to go on a limb here and guess that Albert O could be getting the cut anytime soon. Now, of course, cutting Albert O would mean Avonte Maddox gets his roster spot and will be back playing. Because this weekend or the next, Avonte Maddox told the media he's very, very close being back on the field.
I'm not sure yet. I'm still going through the week. It's a thing where I have to, make sure I have the physical traits of being able to, play a certain amount of plays and not be as tired as much. So, I just slowly progressing throughout the week. Getting a lot of practice reps in as much as I can and running to the ball, make sure I get my stamina good, WC.
All I'm going to say to that is Maddox being paired with breakout DBs, at least recently, Kelee, Ringo, and Eli Ricks, plus Darius Slay when his knee is ready. Looks like Matt Patricia's secondary is about to get even better, and they've looked pretty good the past couple of weeks. Speaking of Patricia, I've loved some of the changes that he's made, especially going to more zone coverage on third downs, but they continue to struggle in the pass rush area. Matt Patricia, during his now weekly press conference, kind of sidestepped the question on what issues are happening with the front four.
Yeah, I think the pass rush is, it's certainly something we're always trying to strive for, to get into the backfield and get after the quarterback. It's certainly high priority for us week in, week out. Coach Dable did a great job with his staff of trying to get the ball out quick. And certainly you could see it early in the game, especially in the first half. Did a really good job of using the empty formations and motioning guys out and getting into some overload 4x1s and 3x2s and putting the ball out on the perimeter pretty quick. We changed up a couple things there to try to slow that down a little bit. And the ball was coming out very, very effectively fast. You try to get him into passing situations where the routes have to go downfield a little bit further. Maybe you got a little bit more time to try to get to the quarterback in that situation. But give them credit for what they were trying to do in those situations. But I would say this, those guys are affecting the quarterback. Maybe not in the sacks, we're working to get there, but certainly the pass rush. And there's certain things, depending on the quarterback that you're playing and how you try to game plan the effectiveness of the rush, whether, maybe it's coming through the middle, maybe it's a certain side that you can get rushed to, get him out of his throwing lane, not let him step up through the pocket, right-handed quarterbacks versus, mobile quarterbacks, guys that want to stay in, guys that want to get out. I'd say the rate at which these guys are trying to get out of the pocket or escape, whether it's deep or up and through, is at a high rate too. That means they're feeling the rush from that standpoint. And certainly, I think there's things that I've got to do to continue to help these guys in those situations and scheme-wise that maybe we can do going down the road to help them have those guys, stuck in there a little bit longer so we can get after them.
Okay, quarterbacks getting the ball out quickly. I mean, I guess I can buy that. Although Zach Berman pointed out, if you go beyond the sacks, the Eagles had their second best pressure rate of the season against the Giants, so they were applying pressure, just not finishing at the quarterback. As Josh Sweat has termed it, they're stuck in almost. Now, my big fear, besides, of course, not getting to the quarterback, is that Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have run into somewhat of either rookie or second-year walls, if you will. I mean, they've seen a dramatic reduction the past couple of weeks in terms of overall production, and Jeff McLane's Inquirer article cited that this morning. I mean, look at this. Carter's pressures have decreased a dramatic amount over the last 4 games, and his snap count is at a season-low 33% of all defensive snaps this past Monday versus the Giants. Now, some have wondered if Jalen Carter's discipline, or I guess lack thereof, has resulted in Nick Sirianni pulling Jalen Carter's snaps way teammate down, but he was quick to cover that up during his press conference yesterday, saying that it's just been part of a new scheme. Either way, Philadelphia's going to need Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to step up big time, especially when you get into the postseason, when you got to play the Detroit Lions, the Dallas Cowboys, and possibly even the San Francisco 49ers. Now, someone who continues to step up in a big way has been wide receiver A.J. Brown, who's just 115 yards away from becoming the 7th player in NFL history to have 6,000 receiving yards in their first 5 seasons, to go along with Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Julio Jones, A.J. Green, Torrey Holt, and Mike Evans. But despite these numbers, A.J. Brown declined to be interviewed yesterday, again during their open locker room period, and indicated that he might talk to the media later this week. And this stems from the fact that he didn't talk after the Giants victory because, from what Jeff McLane understood, he wasn't happy with the team's performance and felt fellow wide receiver Avonte Smith had already voiced that frustration. And this continues to snowball with what's going on in the wide receiver room. It's hard to know exactly what's going on with Brown. Like, for instance, Eagles wide receiver, or former Eagles wide receiver, Jason Avant, took a shot at what's going on by saying, I don't know if he's frustrated with the city's narrative that Jalen is pressing too hard to get him the ball or what it is, but he had 6 catches for 80 yards. He dropped 2 passes that would have put him over 100 yards again. He had 11 targets, by far leading everybody in targets. I hope it's not that. If anybody had an opportunity to make a difference, it's AJ. I don't know if it's the routes being called, the play calling, what it is. But 11 targets in a game? Wish I got 11 targets in a game. I would have caught 8 or 9 of them a game. Now, the quarterback throwing AJ the ball was asked about all of this yesterday, and, well, take a listen for yourself.
Jalen, I don't know if you've talked to AJ, but obviously he was upset after the game because he didn't want to speak. Do you have any idea why he was upset after the game?
I don't know. I don't want to speak for him. I don't know. You know, I know he's a competitive person. He demands a lot out of himself. And that goes for anyone else in the locker room. You know, it's like I said, he has a standard for himself, and he's not compromising that. He's demanding that of himself, and he wants that out of his teammates as well.
It's really hard for me to believe that stats or targets is the issue with A.J. Brown. Like, his numbers are way too elite. You see him on your screen for that to be the actual problem. My guess is he's either tired of being blamed for the offensive issues, like Jason Avant said, or maybe it's just the whole offensive scheming and the play calling, which I covered extensively on yesterday's show in regard to the fact that Philly hardly ever calls routes across the middle, and that's where A.J. Brown makes his bread and butter. Either way, I don't want to make too much about it because just because he doesn't talk to the media doesn't mean that he's, super upset and going to sit out games and make this giant sort of TO-esque offseason issue. But I want to see wide receiver 1 happy. And when he's happy, he's balling out. And when he's balling out, Philadelphia's winning football games. It's just kind of bad timing with the playoffs getting closer and closer. Now, maybe this will force the offensive coaching staff, including Sirianni and Brian Johnson, to focus in on exactly why he's upset, aka if it is play calling, how can we make it better for not only him, but the rest of the wide receivers. But I just hope that this can get squashed, no more beef, no more drama, and AJ can be the best receiver on the football field in every single game the Eagles play, especially in the postseason going forward. We got plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks here. Back inside the home studio, thumbs up for that. Plenty of things happening because Philadelphia needs to win against the Cardinals, and you might need to root for the Cowboys to beat the Lions. More on that on tomorrow's show. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.